Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and good morning to our friends from Europe. Welcome to SANGFOR webinar, and today's topic is SANGFOR's VDI solution for the banking and financial services industry. So today we are having one of our field experts as speaker, Harper John. Harper is our senior pre-sales manager, and he has worked in multiple regions in Southeast Asia and Middle East as SANGFOR product consultant. He has rich experiences in hyperconverged infrastructure, virtual desktop, and security solutions. He has delivered numerous customer success cases in different industries. Please note that there will be a Q&A session after Harper's presentation. So please feel free to leave your questions in the Q&A box. And now let's welcome Harper.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to have the presentation and sharing the SANGFOR VDI solutions regarding the financial service and industry to all of you. So before we go through the VDI solution, of course, we have to know why we are going to replace the desktop by the virtual desktop infrastructure and what kind of challenge the physical desktop is facing, especially for FSI industry. As we know that the desktop, it is working isolated and independently in the user side, which the user is keeping their own data from the PC. And we know that in the FSI especially, they have a large quantity of the user, which they might be coming from the outsourced staff, the internal user, or any other subsidiary company, which they will access different banking business. So there will be normally some compliance requirement for the user's PC to limit their access, and we have to give different authority to the user to manage their data and the network access. So how we are going to manage the internal and external network separation and to separate the key business data, would be some kind of challenge to the desktop. Second of all, we know that normally FSI have some certain scale. So that means they have multiple branch all over the country or even all over the world. So because of this large number of the branch user, the software and peripheral, it is various. So it is very difficult to maintain from the operation and maintenance. And most of the branch office or some small service center, I would say they have no residential IT administrator. So you have to maintain them of their PC remotely. It is going to be extra workload for our IT administrator persons as well. And the last things, because of the known current situation of the pandemic, many of the region, they are working from home policy is still applied. So due to the work from home requirement, the PC or the desktop is very difficult to fulfill the remote access or the data security compliance requirement. So how we can help them to battle this kind of challenge? Then VDI come into the place, or we can say there's a new requirement for the desktop. That was three main things: secure, high efficiency, and agile. These are the three main requirements towards those challenges. For example, secure, we should guarantee the user's access should be under some authentication, and different user will have different right with their own data usage policy. And their activity can be recorded or can be logged. And also, the user's usage of the PC should be standardized, and the operation and maintenance of the desktop will be standardized as well. And the last thing, because we know that nowadays we are putting more and more business from the digital way. So that means there are going to be more application to be used. And different kind of application, the resources will be various as well. So how we are going to adjust the resources accordingly and flexibly, and this will be one of the key factors for the new desktop requirement. And the last things, of course, it should be flexible access whenever or wherever the user it is. So that's the main reason why VDI is helping to replace the desktop, which we can easily fulfill all these three main requirements. So now let's take a look at the current trend of the VDI requirement from the market. We can see that no matter in which kind of industry, the VDI is growing dramatically. And from this third-party surveys, we can see that starting from 2019 up to 2026, the compound annual growth rate is increasing and up to 17%. So I think because of for example, the trend of the workplace flexibility due to the pandemic, this year there will be more user and more customer from different company. They're adopting the virtual desktop solution. And also one of the key factor, I would say, it is because of the BYOD. Many of the user and many of the customer, they are acquiring the BYOD concept and they are willing to put and use their own devices in their work. But we need to guarantee the data security and prevent from the data leakage as well. So that's why VDI come into a trend. More significantly, for the banking, finance, and insurance industry, it is getting more and more fast adopting. We can see that the PC is engaging around 14% of the complete IT spending, whereas this compound annual growth rate of the PC, it is only 3%. And due to currently still a very big area which the VDI can help to replace the PC, so the compound annual growth rate, it becomes around 30%. And because we know that in FSI, we are more concerning from the data security. So the willingness of the investment in the VDI is more easily to be accepted. And the last thing is that due to the large number of the branch office, there will be more significant requirement for the central management and easy management for the desktop. So VDI can help to fulfill all this requirement. The next thing is that I'm going to tell you what SANGFOR VDI Solution is offering. We can see here, SANGFOR is offering a one-stop solution, including the user end devices and the data center end, as well as our own protocol of the connection between the user side to the server side. Now let's take a look from the user end. We have different kind of model of the thin client, including STD200 or 500. This is two different model in different scenario. As well as we are capable to allow the user to reuse their own PC as well as the smartphone. Either they are using the Windows desktop or the Linux desktop or the Android devices or the iOS devices. We have the agent or a client to be installed in those users' devices so that they can easily and flexibly to access the virtual desktop resources. From the server side, in the server end, we can easily compatible with any x86 hardware so that we can allow the customer to choose their own preference hardware server, or we can reuse their current existing server in order to reduce the initial investment. Yeah, if for different scenario, we are also capable to offer the GPU solution, which we can build in our VDI solution. On top of the hardware, we have our own software for the virtualization, including the server virtualization and the storage virtualization. And on top of this, that was our VDC, Virtual Desktop Controller, which this VDC can help to build up a virtual desktop as well as the virtual application resources in a single controller, so that the user are flexible to choose whether they are going to use the virtual desktop or virtual application. Especially for the banking or the finance sector, we have another component which is going to help a flexible and easier management for all different site, desktop, and thin client. That was the A Center. This A Center can help to manage a multiple cluster environment for all different clustering server, hypervisor, and the user, right, as well as the thin client, in order to do a central licensing, a desktop template, resources management, the branch side management, etc. So with SANGFOR VDI solution, we can easily achieve several value. For example, we can flexibly access anytime, any place, and secured by the smartphone or the user PC. And also, we are capable to easily build up a separate and isolate network from the internal and external network, so that whenever user in a different requirement, for example, working at home, so they might capable to connect their business network with secure network connection, as well as they can choose to connect in a different network. And the last thing is that the remote connection, we are encrypted for the network layer, as well as the user data, we can also be encrypted as well. Another thing, when we talk about the data security, the HCI architecture can help to store all the data and prevent from the front end to the back end. So all the data will be kept from the back end, and then we can easily set up different policy to limit the data transformation. So whenever the user data is exported or it is transmitted, we can have the report center to lock down and to see what exactly happened from whom when we need to chase back. And from the HCI architecture, we are capable to do 2 copy. In a clustering environment, we can easily help to do the HA with auto failover. And also we are capable to do the backup automatically based on the policy. The last thing, of course, it helps the IT administrator to easier their operation and maintenance, which whenever they would need to do some new deployment, we can base on the template to do a one-click deployment. Thousands or hundreds of virtual desktop by 10 minutes or 20 minutes, it can easily be built up. And of course, because of each user resources are the virtual machine, we can easily adjust their resources of the virtual CPU or the virtual memory and the virtual hard disk in order to accommodate their different requirement. The last is that even though multiple branch office and multiple sites have been deployed, we can still do a central management based on a center. So based on all this feature and value, we are proposing the VDI solution to the FSI, especially in this 4 main scenario. The office desktop, the small branch office and the service center, the research and development outsource scenario, and the call center. And for today, where we will highlight 2 main scenarios from the office desktop and the small branch office and service center in order to cover the mainstream requirement here. So first of all, the first scenario we are going to share is about the Office Secure Desktop requirement. And at the beginning, I would like to give you one of our case reference coming from one of our existing customer. This case reference is coming from a banking customer. We can see that this bank is a commercial bank, which they have a very wide range of the customer, and they have a very large quantity of the branch and the end user. So their requirement is that they have more than 3,000 units of the desktop. They have 2 scenarios which need to replace the desktop to the VDI. For example, from the Swift department and from a normal office user. The Swift department, they require high availability as well as extremely data security, because we know that Swift department is one of the core department from the banking sector, which is managing the nationality money transaction. Yeah. Another thing is the user from the normal office user, they want to use the Linux. The reason is because of the Linux, they have no licensing from the operation system rather than using the Windows desktop. And we know that from the normal OA user, their software utilization is more simple, like the normal Office, the browser, and some other peripheral compatibility. So Linux is also capable to fulfill all this requirement. Another requirement is that whenever they have the user working remotely, they required a two-factor authentication, including the Active Directory and the SMS authentication. So now let's see this scenario. Their general and top requirement is that they require the business continuity for the core business department. They require the data security, which is a common requirement from the FSI scenario. And they want to simplify the management and achieve a secure access. Also, they want to reduce the OPEX in the long run. So what we have done for this scenario is that we have deployed a clustering environment of the VDI in their data center, which the user is connecting through a LAN environment. So whenever there's a host hardware issue, we can easily help to do a failover. From the user side, we are helping them to deploy the Ubuntu, which there's a GUI and they have all sort of application to be used, just like a normal PC utilization. And their environment has been connecting to the SMS gateway as well. So the benefit of this customer is that all this core and top requirement, they can be fulfilled. So now let's take a look at the deeper analysis of this Office Secure Desktop. Normally in this Office Desktop, we have two different kinds of deployment. One is for their internet access or for their business access, or either we can do it in a mixed scenario, which we can isolate physically in a different clustering to fulfill their internet and business requirement. So especially for the internet access, we can also help to build up a floating resources. So whenever the user is going to some public PC to access the internet for some business purpose, so they can access the floating resources, and after they log out, they will capable to return to the factory default setting. But they can still maintain to keep their personal data in a personal drive as well. Another scenario is in the business access environment, we can help to set up different policy to limit their data transformation. In this scenario, here we have several key features help to guarantee the smoothness of this VDI usage. First of all, the protocol of the thin client connection to the server side, we have our own proprietary protocol, which is called SRAP, SANGFOR Remote Application Protocol. Based on this protocol, we can help to stream compression, which reduce the video streaming, as well as we can help to do some certain cache and the dynamic image filter in order to reduce the traffic consumption between the server side to the user side. Especially for the video, we have done the HTML5 redirection or the thin client-based redirection of the local video. This video redirection, as we know that normally video playing, there's an encoding and decoding process, which will consume highly performance from the hardware side. So what we have done is that we redirect this encoding process to the thin client so that there will be a release burden from the server side to a thin client side in order to get a better performance. Another thing is that in this scenario, we can help to build up flexible policy to secure our data and the network security. For example, first of all, in this user, we can have different kind of desktop. One is for the business relative desktop and one is for the internet access desktop. And when the user is working at the office, they can easily access by their own choice. But whenever we detect the IP or the devices has been changed when they access the resources, for example, when they are working remotely, we can have a temporary policy to restrict the user to only capable to access to certain resources in order to secure our data. So this is some of the flexible policy which we can easily help to achieve. And the next thing is that because we know from the FSI, we have large quantity of different kind of peripheral, including the normal USB, the printer, scanner, biometric, high-speed camera, and normal camera, etc. So in order to get a very good compatibility of different peripheral, we have the zero-bus mapping technology, which can help to map the zero bus from the server to the hypervisor, from the hypervisor to each of the VM, so that every VM, there's no need to actually install the zero bus and can easily use the peripheral just like any PC after they install the driver of the peripheral. So as a conclusion, in this Office desktop scenario, we can help to achieve easier and higher efficiency of working whenever they want to remote access. And the security and continuity will be more guaranteed in this virtual desktop environment. From the IT administrator, we can be more easier managed based on a template, based on a single console for all different kind of user. And the user can easily access whenever they are at home or in other branch office based on their laptop or the smartphone. Now let's take a look at another scenario from the remote office access. This is getting more common during the pandemic situation. So here is one of our customers from an insurance company. They have also a very large quantity of the desktop user, which more than 2,500 units, and they keep expanding every year. So because of this large scale of the PC and fast growing, the administrator's workload is getting very heavy. And as we know that the same for most of their small branch office and the service center, they do not have the residential administrator to do the maintenance. And because they have large quantity of the application, so whenever they want to do a new deployment of a PC, it takes a long time. So all this requirement, we can conclude from here, there's a 6 main requirement. They want to simplify the management and save the OpEx. They want to central management. They want to do a data security. They want a fast deployment and compatible with peripheral and get smoothness and fluency whenever they are remote access. So in this scenario, we have done 2 kind of deployment. In their headquarters with large quantity of user, we do deploy some clustering of the server in their headquarters so that they can access from the LAN. And also in some branch office, we have deployed a server there as well, so that whenever the user need to access, they are also access from the LAN. And from the overload management, we use the A center to connect all different sites and all different cluster to do a central management. So this is what we have done. Now let's take a look at the deeper of this scenario. In this scenario, a central deployment in headquarters is pretty much common. In different branch office, for example, in regional office or in some bigger branch office, we can also deploy devices of the server there so that the user's access fluency could be more guaranteed. But also, we are capable to allow the user to access from the internet. And different kind of access, they can have different kind of authentication based on different requirement. So in this internet and WAN access scenario, we have our own another protocol, which is called HEDC, the High Efficiency Desktop Coding Protocol. This protocol is capable to help to reduce the traffic furthermore, especially for the WAN scenario. Here is some of the comparison between SANGFOR and the other vendors when we are doing in the same job from the VDI. And we can see that our traffic consumption can be guaranteed that even though we compare to the mainstream of the player from the VDI solution, we are still same or in a lower traffic consumption after this protocol. And the average of the bandwidth recommendation in the remote connection is 600 kbps for the OA scenario. Another thing to guarantee this deployment is that based on this A-center, we can central manage all different sites from central licensing, unified central policy, and the resources management, etc. Also, we have multiple different policy to limit and to secure our data. For example, whenever the user is accessed remotely from home, they have their own desktop with their own hard drive. But whenever they are accessed to the VDI desktop, the data cannot be write out of this virtual desktop to their personal to their personal hard drive. This all can based on our policy to allow or to write or read only. The same things for the authentication. We can help to give multiple authentication based on different requirement, and the authentication can be either or and based on the customer's real deployment scenario. So as a complete end-to-end security policy, here we have several main feature to guarantee the data and network security. For example, from the user access, we have multiple features, and I just take a highlight feature, for example, from the watermark. We can help to set up the watermark on the user's virtual desktop so that we can customize the username, the access timing from which company, so that even though they are not capable to write the data out of the virtual desktop, they might take the picture or take the video. So if we are capable to trace back when we get this kind of image and the video leak out, when we get to know what is the watermark written, then we can see who have leaked out those information. And from the network connection, we are built up based on the SSL VPN, encryption, and from the data security, we are capable to do the backup based on the policy, etc. So multiple policy, we are helped to guarantee end-to-end security of the user access and the data security. So as a conclusion, from the OpEx, we can see obviously the operational cost can be dramatically reduced from the main cost, which we can simplify the management and central management from the VDI solution. And we know that the thin client is normally very low electric consumption, which we can also have a large amount of the cost saving from the electric consumption. Yeah, and the thin client is less component, which have a longer life cycle than the normal PC. So the after-sales maintenance service cost will be lower as well. So after sharing all these two scenarios, here is some of our existing customer and the market result from SANGFOR for BFSI industry sector. We can see that in total, we have already sold out more than 30,000 licensed for the virtual desktop, and we are keep increasing rapidly. So here also some of our customer which already deployed SANGFOR VDI solution in different banking, finance, and insurance company. So that's pretty much from my side, sharing. We would like to have some Q&A section based on your question. If you have any question, please feel free to let us know. We will do the Q&A section. And after the Q&A section, we will welcome Tanya to pick out the lucky draw winner after the Q&A. All right, here has a question. The question is that, can SANGFOR VDI compatible with the other brand of the server? Yeah, actually, the answer of this question is yes. Because SANGFOR VDI is based on our own hypervisor, which we are capable to install the hypervisor in any of the x86 server. So the mainstream brand like Dell, HP, Lenovo, etc., we can easily install the hypervisor on top of that. And then even if the customer have the existing server which they want to reuse for the VDI purpose, we can also help to do that in order to save the initial investment. All right, any more question? Another question here, can SANGFOR compatible with other brand ThinClan? Okay, this is a very good question. Principally, we do only support SANGFOR ThinClan, but practically we can also support some other ThinClan, like the Windows-based ThinClan. We can install our agent on top of that so that they can reuse it. Also, we have some customization on Raspberry Pi ThinClan as well, but it's various according to the project. Better you can, when we are working on some specific project, you can also ask the pre-sales or the consultant from the SANGFOR. Okay, all right. If there's no more question, let's welcome Tanya to pick out the lucky draw winner.
Hello, Hopper. I think there's one more questions for you to answer.
All right, yeah. There's another question is, what is the maximum number of clients for one server? Yeah, it is also a very good question. First of all, in different usage scenario, there will be a different resources deployment. For example, in the Win 10, in Win 7, in Linux or virtual application, there will be different resources. Different resources means there's a different loading for the hardware. And also because of the hardware, there will be different hardware spec for CPU and memory and the hard disk. So it's very difficult to give you a concrete number of the maximum number the server can support. We base on the calculation, and the range is various. If from our normal Windows 10 scenario for the office user and from the mainstream hardware spec from the market, we can support from, for example, 50 user up to 150. It's various on the spec. Yeah, so I would suggest you can also consult with the partner or the pre-sales from SANGFOR accordingly based on your scenario. All right, any more question? Another question is that, how about supporting NVIDIA GPU on third-party server? The answer also yes, because our compatibility on the vGPU is based on the NVIDIA, and NVIDIA we have some certain model which we can support to do the vGPU solution. So in a third-party server, we can also compatible with. But from the GPU model, from the graphic card model, we will suggest you that you can consult with our pre-sales because there has some certain model of NVIDIA we are suggesting to do the vGPU scenario. Okay, if no more question, Thanks for time for today's listening. Tanya, I'm giving you the timing now.
Okay, thank you, Hopper.
Thank you.